Good evening. Okay, fabulous. I am live on both Facebook and Instagram. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had an amazing restful weekend. If you were off on the weekend, if you worked, I hope that everything went according to plan, that you were successful in your endeavors. Um, Welcome to another week of live streaming. Um, Let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Waveney. I am a leadership coach, and I help your managers develop leadership influence by mastering their relationships at work and um, leveraging their communication skills. And if you are new here on this platform, if you've stumbled across me on Facebook or Instagram, and this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. If you are a fan, you follow, welcome back. Just a few things before I start. Usually when I live stream, I go live both on Facebook and Instagram. Hey Nat, I go live both on Facebook and Instagram, and so you maybe see me looking left or right. My eyes may not be connected with the camera. It's because I try to. Hi, Sheldon. I try to engage my audience, even though you're out there virtually. I still try to maintain that connection. And so this is the second week. I'm doing 3 weeks really of this coming on and giving you some free training, some tips, some strategies, um, making you aware of some things to look out for, some things that you can do within your role as a manager. And as I mentioned before, I serve new managers are managers that are transitioning from one industry to a next, from maybe one career field to a next. But even if you are not a manager and you want to be one someday, or you are, you're in your church group or you lead a nonprofit, these videos can help you. So I have placed the replays from last week are there. So I would strongly encourage you to binge watch. You can go back and look at them. I've also placed them on YouTube so you can see them there as well, and share them with a friend. Maybe someone needs, they're looking for, assistance. They're new in the role and they're looking for it. And so these videos will help you. So, this evening, I want to speak about a topic, and it is being a leader is not a license to do what you want. Um, for many of you who don't know, I forgot this part of my introduction. I am a director of human resources. My background is human resources by day, because I'm still working my 9 to 5, and in after hours, after I'm done, this is my business. This is something I'm passionate about. I serve at the People's Brand, and I really love developing and help people grow in their careers. I want to see people win. I don't think that anybody comes up. Oh, I forgot. Let me turn off my AC. Give me a minute because the noise comes through and it's really noisy. Like when I edit, I download the videos, the noise comes through, it's really noisy. So I don't think people get into positions, at least not the people that follow the People's Brand. You don't get into your position because you don't do it just because you want to be the best. And so tonight I want to talk about double standards, right? And I want to talk about the fact that being a manager, getting that promotion, getting that job as a manager, that job that you work so hard for, that you know has been a dream of yours. It is not a license for you to do what you want. And sometimes they have a saying that says the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't know if you've ever heard it, and it simply means this. Sometimes you have good intentions. We have great intentions, right? But it doesn't always work and turn out that way. And so I want to share with you some mistakes, some common mistakes that new managers make when they get into the role. Like I mentioned, you work hard, some people feel entitled, they've arrived, and so they feel like it's a license to do what they want because they're in charge, and that's the mindset, right? And so really being a manager is being a leader is about first self leadership, managing yourself. And the reason why I use the term, and you're going to hear me use the term leader, is because we are at a point in time in our history that we need people to lead, right? Not just to manage. You manage people, you manage processes, you manage you know the day to day. But what you really need to be doing is leading. You need to have a vision. You need to be proactive, and so I speak about influential leadership. All right. So it's about managing yourself. You have to manage yourself, right? I mean, all of us do at any level, but even more so because when you get into that position, you are, ta-da, you're in the spotlight, and all of a sudden, people can tell you what you should or shouldn't do. People always have an opinion on what makes a good leader, what makes a bad leader, right? They themselves aren't, but we understand and they could identify what's wrong and what's right. And so having a double standard is a recipe for disaster, or having persons perceive you as having a double standard is a recipe for disaster. Okay, you need to walk the talk, and you need to, really honor that position and title that has been entrusted to you. All right, the same way you are online is the same way you should be offline. And very rarely people could flip flop, right? Very rarely, excuse me, very rarely you find people can be one way at work and another way in their personal life. It always shows up because we that's the way we are, right? And so you really need to make sure that you're not having a double standard. So what does having a double standard look like in leadership, right? Um, it can look like this. I'll give you a few examples. It can look like arriving late. You're always late. You're always late. Um, you kind of had this issue probably when you were before you became a manager, but you either masked it. Some people either mask it really well, or you find that maybe they had a leader because that they were doing such a fabulous job, they bypassed that. And that usually happens, right? Sometimes people who know the job well or who do great things, there are other things that affect the team and their managers bypass it, and that's not cool, right? And so you're always late, but yet you want people to submit. You want your team to be on time. You don't like anybody being late for your meetings, but you're always late, right? That is having, and that's a very simple example, but it happens all the time. That is having a double standard. And nobody is going to come into your face and tell you that this is ridiculous. Okay. As a matter of fact, the more you climb in your career, the more weighty your position and title is. People are not prone to telling you when you step on their toes. People are not really prone to telling you when you do things that hurt their feelings or if you are wrong. It's just very, very rare that they do that, right? And so you have to solicit this information. This is why I speak a lot about building work relationships, because as a leader, you need to have that awareness. You need to understand how you are perceived. Okay. So that's one. Another way in which the double standard thing shows up is you speak to your employees about getting kickbacks or maybe having contracts that are conflict of interest, right? Having contracts that are conflict of interest, but then you go ahead and you decide to subcontract or you get a friend or close family member to do something without a documented process. That is a like real, real double standard. You can't be saying one thing or I'm doing the next. And sometimes you may be justified in doing it. Maybe you live on an island like me, right? You live when you live on an island, the resources are limited. You have to plan really well, right? You because things come from overseas. This is not like, and if you're viewing from the US, this is not like the US where you could just maybe expedite it and Amazon pulls up and you have that package, or the vendor just lives like several blocks, right? You have to really plan. So you may be doing that, right? Speaking about a conflict of interest, but yet here you are doing the same thing. Okay. Now, another way that um, having a double standard shows up is whenever things are not going well, whenever things are going well, you're excellent, you're fabulous, you know, you're in a great mood. And when things are not going well, you're in like everybody's like, is he in a good mood? Is she in a good mood? Yet you are preaching to your team about having teamwork, about having collaboration, about respecting each other. Maybe two people have a conflict and you're in there trying to tell them that they need to work together. But here you are governed by the moon. Okay, you're governed by the moon, and people have to pick and choose when and what to say to you. And I want to just say right now, anybody could be great when things are going fine. That when things are going fine, that isn't a benchmark for anything. When things are going fine, okay. When you hear people say this person is a great person, okay, they're a great person. Put them under pressure. Put them in a situation where they have to, you know, they're really feeling that pressure. Then what? Then I want to see what that person is made of, right? And COVID has certainly done that to 1 minute. Um, COVID has certainly done that and shown us really we read stories, we hear people speak about their experiences, about how they were treated by their managers, how they were treated by their employers, right? So you could be great when things are going great, but show me what happens when the sun goes down. Let's see what happens then. Okay. Another way um, is not following up. You want to be sending your emails, you want your work done on time, you have deadlines, and we need a cutoff point, right? We need deadlines. But yet, somebody has put in a vacation request, or your child is having a birthday party, and you can't get back to them. They're asking for time off, and you're sitting like God Almighty, and you don't deem it a priority because it has nothing to do with you, one, and it has nothing to do with the work, but yet you want your work um, to be submitted on time. That's having a double standard. And the reason why I wanted to do this talk is because a lot of the times we feel like having a double standard is this big, gross thing that persons could readily identify. Leadership is about it's about behaviors, right? And behaviors add up over time. If this makes sense to you, drop an emoji in the comment. Let me know if this makes sense to you. It's about your behaviors over time, and these little things that you're doing, these actions that you're taking, they are undermining the credibility of your leadership, and you're showing that you have a double standard. Okay. um Let me see if I have another example, right? Um, The last example I have is, and this is a simple one. They're all very simple examples, really, um, but they are impactful, um, because they could, you know, given you're doing it over time, like I said, they erode trust. Okay, and this one is you it's very similar to the example I gave. You want people to respond to your emails, you want people to respond when you say something, a memo or whatever, but you don't respond to others. Same thing, right? You can't have that. Then that is having a double standard. And it's it isn't a license. Being a manager isn't a license for you to behave in these types of ways, right? It's not a license for you to do that. Yes, you've worked hard. Yes, you've earned that promotion. Yes, you've earned that job. You went to school, you have your degree. Yes, you've come up through the ranks, and you've proven that you're the right person for the job, but your behavior needs to change. You can't be still on the same level at which you got into that job. You can't be thinking that way. Your mindset has to change, right? And so many people act this way. Why they act this way? It's because, one, they don't understand what leadership is, and this is why the people's brand exists. I'm here to help you to be the best possible leader that you can be, the best, right? That is the goal, through my content, through my coaching program, to help you grow and develop. Okay. So people don't know what leadership is, they don't know what to expect, and it's no fault of theirs. They don't have the support systems in place. They never really thought about being a leader, right? They never thought it all the way through, what's expected, all that. They don't do that. They don't have the guidance, right? You don't have the guidance, the proper guidance. Maybe you don't have an HR department, or if you do have an HR department, there's a lot of things that I share on this platform that people just, unless a situation happens, they don't tell you about it. Okay. Um, Another reason why managers behave in this type of way and get themselves in these type of situations is because they've seen it done. They've seen this is what their boss is doing, this is what the senior leaders are doing, this is what they know, how managers act. Like, when you're a manager, you can do certain things once you get your work done. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. um you have to care, right? Because you're showing that you don't care, and that you've earned the right to behave in this manner, and that is not a good look for you. So how does all these things, plus there are so many other examples that I am sure that if you look back, whether you self-reflect, okay, or you think about a manager that you've had, you could come up with so many examples of persons having double standards, of persons being in a leadership role and wanting to do what they want. And that includes being disrespectful, maybe speaking to you in a very unprofessional way, doing what they want, you know. Um, you have those examples, right? You've lived it, but you don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like that. We want to elevate our leadership. We want people to know, like, and trust us. And this is a way that you earn that likability factor in leadership. So how does it impact you? No one respects you. No one respects you. Nobody respects anybody who does one thing and say the next, right? Certainly, going back to that example of you wanting the information right away, you wanting people to respond, but here it is, you have that request for that mom or dad who have something going on with their child, or even want to leave early for that parent teacher meeting, and you're just not answering them. Certainly nobody is going to respect you. They're not going to respect you at all. Okay. And you need respect so that you can influence. A lot of people are walking around, a lot of leaders are walking around, and the only reason they may get stuff done, or it appears that they're getting work done, is because people are afraid. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't like, they're afraid, you know. And but how much can you get out of your team if people are afraid of you? You don't get very much. You don't want to have fear amongst the team. Okay. Um, you develop how it impacts. Another reason is you develop a reputation for not having integrity, and integrity is so important. Integrity is sticking to your commitment. You were given that job for a particular reason. You were entrusted to lead people, you were entrusted to get results, and as such, there is an expectation of you, right? And you need to have integrity. You need to commit. You need to stop showing up late, okay? And then jumping down everybody's throats when they're 5 minutes late, you know, for one of your meetings. You can't have that. If you see me looking down, I have my notes. Another way you set yourself up, uh, it impacts, is that you set yourself up for failure. If you go on to another organization, should you go, you've already cultivated these terrible, terrible habits that you have. And so you take that with you. Like I mentioned before, you can't be one way at work and one way at home. It doesn't work like that. Your personality, your those little things that you do, they show up in different situations in your life, right? Hey Brenda, happy new year to you. Oh, sorry about that. Give me a moment. So you take that with you. You're cultivating bad habits and a bad reputation. And if you, this is particularly important as well, if you go into another organization that has a strong culture, that is not strong, but has a healthy work culture, guess who's going to be the black sheep? You. You're going to be the black sheep because you will be joining an organization that isn't about that life, right? They're about walking the talk. And so you have, we often, people underestimate uh, this word compound, right? You'll hear about compound interest, like it adds up over time. It's the same thing with our behaviors, they add up over time, which is why we have to make a point in making our behavior consistent. We have to make a point in making our behaviors consistent. I posted something, I think it was last week, about consistency, or maybe it's going to be this week. I have no idea as I schedule my stuff, right? Maybe I'm jumping the gun. But perfect doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist. What people perceive as you being perfect is really you being consistent. People see people and they think, oh my God, they're so perfect. There's not nobody that's perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. It takes work. What you do see is somebody who is being incredibly disciplined and incredibly consistent. And that is the point that you want to get at, right? You want to get to that point in your the way you manage people in your leadership, that people think that, oh my God, they're perfect. You're not. It's just that you are consistent. And so your reputation is at stake when you are practicing these double standards, when you're saying one thing, when you're doing a next thing. And these examples, I wanted to give you really simplified, what seemed like simple examples, but they compound over time. They add up over time. And you don't want that. As a new manager, as somebody who is transitioning from one industry to another, one career to another, right? Maybe this is your do-over and you recognize that, listen, I cannot, maybe you've been in management, like I had a client and she had been a manager before, but she recognized that she was going from one industry to another industry and she needed the help and she was open, right? So I accept people into my program even though they've been a manager for a while, all right? But you cannot, you know, build these bad habits. You have to start um your your journey on being a manager with good habits, because bad habits die hard and bad habits might even kill you. They ruin your reputation. Nobody wants to work with you. All of a sudden your department have a very high turnover. People are just leaving, and you know nobody knows why. Maybe they don't want to say why. And so you've really got to manage these things that seem very simple, but they compound over time. And if you're doing this, if you've identified from any of these examples something similar or one of the examples, then you need help. Then you need to take a look at yourself, right? Last week I spoke about how new managers are at risk. Okay, I think the figure is about 60 something percent new managers. There was a study, there's studies done, you can Google it. New managers are at risk for failing within the first 18 to 24 months because they don't have the support, they don't have the guide, because you're coming into a position that you have no idea how to navigate. You don't know what to do, what to focus on. And these are things that you really need to pay attention to. Yes, being in management, it comes with perks, it comes with privilege. Um, that is for sure. It doesn't mean that you have to act all entitled and just do whatever you want. Even if you are an entrepreneur and you're looking at this, it doesn't mean that you do what you want. You can't do what you want. If you do what you want without any guidelines, without, you know, you're going to find yourself in a jam. Okay. And so this is where my program, my 90-day program comes in. Communicate to influence. Um, there's 6 modules. What I'm doing now, it is a one-on-one um, program that you and I will work together, and we help you to set that foundation for your managerial journey. Okay, and these are principles that you will take with you for life, at work, at home, because whatever you do professionally, whenever you enhance, whenever you invest in yourself professionally, it will spill over personally. And so um, I would encourage you to reach out. I only have space for a limited number because it's one-on-one. Um, and I do have a 9 to 5. I only have limited amount of space available. And so schedule your consultation call. Let's start. Let's see if you are a great fit for the program. Um, okay. But this topic is something that I really needed to share with you tonight about your double standards, people having double standards, people not, you know, doing things that they don't recognize that it's having a negative impact. Okay. And so thank you so much for joining in. If you know anyone that can benefit from this training video, then you can share this out with them. Um, and I will speak to you tomorrow. I will be here at 7. If you're joining me on the replay, I'll be here until Thursday. All right. Thank you so much for joining in, and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye.